one of the first beings that came through was Ra. And it was like, Ra! It was like, it was. Now, just picture this, like set the stage. It's me sitting on my little couch in my living room by myself. My eyes, it's like, wow, that was incredible. Because he's power, I say he, but it's powerful energy. And Thoth will come in and talk. There were songs that would come through when I wasn't even thinking, and I would go, what was that I was just singing? Like right after I had just channeled. They come to me all the time. So one of them is, and then they go up into these high registers and it's a chanting thing. And I'm like, what is that coming through me? Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's the first time I've ever done that on anyone's podcast. So thank you.
Well, hello, Pamela Downes. Welcome to the show. I am truly honored by you joining me and looking forward to our conversation. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling so great. It's amazing to see you. It's almost the weekend and the vibes are starting to get higher. And I'm happy to be here today. And thanks for inviting me to have this conversation.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Every week we bring you powerful stories about life and death, awakening, and what it means to be human. And if that resonates, you'll love what's coming. Today, I'm joined by Pamela Downes, a gifted channeler, healer, and the founder of Spirit Calling, a sanctuary for souls waking up to the deeper truth of who they are. Now, after the loss of her father, Pamela began a search for meaning that took her from personal grief to plant medicine to a powerful calling that changed everything. Today, she channels messages from the Great Council of Light, helping others access divine guidance, higher timelines, and the remembrance of why they're here. Now, in this conversation, we are going to explore what it feels like to receive and transmit guidance from higher realms and why so many are awakening right now, and how to navigate the path of remembrance with trust, clarity, and grace. Whether you're newly awakening or years in your journey, this episode is a call to come home to your light, your knowing, and your soul's purpose. So welcome, Pamela. Cannot wait to get the story started.
I'm so excited too. That was lovely. That sounds exciting.
It does. Well, I like to, get the audience all revved up to let them know what's coming, not to wait for it later. And I know because I've watched your story before and it is so rich and amazing. And
Thank you.
It's different. A lot of times we do NDEs, near-death experiences, but this is really the spiritual awakening that you had and that it progressed over years and how it changed your life and the lives of those around you. And then it really culminates in the impact, not only that it had on you, but those that you're helping right now.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to really talk through that whole flow.
Yeah. It's a beautiful journey. It's so interesting because you think about these things, you don't often say things this way, but when you go through your spiritual awakening, you are going through a death, really, almost. You're going through a death of an old belief system, an old way of being, an old, consciousness. It's like a dynamic shift of everything that you used to think. It goes away. It might go away slowly. It might go away all at once with a near-death experience or an experience like plant medicine. But and it's a new way of viewing at the world, a new perception of your reality, a new way that you approach relationships, approach your work, approach your family. Like everything changes. And with me, that's what happened. It was a gradual change that involved some impactful experiences that helped that expand a little more and a little more as I went down that road. But I started not resonating with the things that I was taught to believe in, the ways of being, the things that were put before me that I was brought up within. And I was having these questions and I was just kind of keeping them to myself, but they were like in my mind, like, I don't align with this way of thinking anymore, or this religion, or this practice. I want to discover something else. And it was this continual, I always say that when a lot of seekers come to my community, it's like they have a crack in the surface of their reality and they just want to dive in and tear it open and find more and discover more and have more conversations and more experiences and all the things. And that's what happened to me. Once I started using my discernment and started thinking for myself, it wasn't resonating. It wasn't in alignment. The biggest thing actually was I started having this understanding of love. Love came to the forefront. love just became this thing, this driver, this understanding. And I was like, if God is love and he's made of, he's 100% love, then am I going to die and he's going to judge me and tell me I have eternal damnation, or I'm going to have, eternal life? And I was like, that just doesn't make sense. And it was like all these cracks, all these fragments, all these things. And I said, I just am going to not believe in that right now until I figure out what it is that I believe in. And my marriage was kind of going through its shift. As I know now, the contract was over and it was time for higher and better experiences and all of this stuff that's now presented itself to me. But love became at the forefront of that. Like, this isn't resonating as a really, truly, deeply loving experience, relationship, interaction, engagement, like none of it. And I knew that there was something more. Like, I wasn't able to settle for just what was there. I knew there was something more. And what happens is you get to make these choices. And there's only two. There's love and there's fear. It's as simple as that. So when you choose the fear, you're holding yourself back. You're making fearful decisions. You're not moving forward into abundance, into opportunity, into a more loving, higher frequency experience. And that's what I started to do. I started to make changes. I started to really make that love be the driver of all of my decisions. And, no one gets married thinking they're going to get divorced. No one, you don't do that. But you are on your journey of remembering yourself, just like we just talked about in the description. You come here in this three-dimensional plane of reality as a soul body, in this physical body, to experience things, to expand your understanding of love. And so, you grow. And oftentimes I find in my community, sometimes people don't stay together in relationships because one is growing and one isn't. And so there's a frequency difference there, and they're not in alignment anymore. And that's what was happening with me. I was expanding. I was seeing a multicolor. I wanted to continue this journey. And I had somebody who was in black and white that was with me but not with me, if that makes sense. And through that experience of really, it was hard. And you're thinking about your children, you're thinking about what people are going to think, you're thinking about, am I doing the right thing? And I'm scared, and I'm this and I'm that, and all these things, but you can't let that be the driver. And through that, my whole entire life changed. I was able to have the space to explore spirituality. I was able to step into self-empowerment, to heighten my frequency, which made me align with different things. And that is the spiritual awakening journey. It's new realizations and new understandings, but it's also your healing journey, which you don't really understand. And when I say healing, as you experience things and as you heal your soul body and as you understand love and have more ideas of it, you are expanding your vibration, you are raising your frequency, and you are healing, basically. Your soul body is expanding, it's vibrancy. And I just went on this path. My father died. And I remember just having this moment when he died of seeing him there, but he wasn't there any longer. And I just didn't understand where he went. I just couldn't understand where the essence of him went. And out of nowhere, this opportunity to go to a spiritual medium gallery came, ticket paid for, fall in my lap, someone to watch the baby, like everything. And I went to this, and in that gallery, the psychic medium came right over to me and he said, your father's here. And he described the relationship of my father and I, which was very, specific. And there was I was an artist and a musician, and it talked about how he never said that I was talented or he never supported me in all the ways that he was. He was an abusive alcoholic. And then when he was sober, he was very angry and still, a lot of those same tendencies. And he described our relationship on point. And it was just mind blown again, consciousness expanded, raised the frequency again, and through those experiences, much like an NDE, you're continuing that expansive experience over and over and over again. And I wanted to know everything that there was to know. I wanted to understand about Jesus. I wanted to understand where he disappeared to. I wanted to know about plant medicine. I wanted to understand Reiki. I wanted to understand what are Akashic records, what is channeling, what are all the things. And that's the road that I was on. The right people started coming on my path, and the people who weren't really in alignment with me anymore kind of fell off to the wayside. So new people that were having the conversations that I wanted to have and who were going to things that I wanted to go to came into my life. And that's what happens. One of the things that you hear in my community often when we have new members is they feel alone. They don't have anyone that they can really talk to about this. Because you do feel alone. You're kind of going through it, and when you're in your little soul family, you're often the disruptor who's waking up and seeing things that are new, and you can't really like scream it from the rooftops because nobody wants to talk about it with you. And I was finding a person here, a person there, and a client of mine. We met for lunch, and she was like, "I'm reading this book," and I said, "I'm reading this book." It was Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Weiss. And I was like, oh my God, it was right after my dad died. And I just knew that there was life beyond this physical form. And then I wanted to enter into yoga and meditation and breath work. And then I was into yoga nidra, and I started seeing colors on the sides of my eyes. Some people say that this path into your spiritual gifts awakening can happen overnight, and it can, but mine was gradual. I remember dropping kids off at gymnastics practice and being in the parking lot trying to meditate and see things in front of my eyes and, having this desire to connect and connect and connect. And I'm sure you hear that all the time too, because when people have near-death experiences, they often say they don't want to come back. They would rather stay in that super high frequency of love. And they're told that they probably need to come back and their work is not done or whatever their contract is, right? And that's what happens is you have an experience. You might have a vision, or you might see something, you might hear something, you might have sparkle on the peripheral of your eye. You want more of it. So you're constantly like trying to find that place again. And what happened to me was I got invited to experiences. I got invited. The universe, I found the law of attraction. I found Esther Hicks and Abraham. That was the first channeler that I found. And I wasn't really fixated on the channeling part. I was really resonating at that moment in my life with abundance, working through lack and fear and trying to learn about abundance and the law of attraction. And I started listening to her and Abraham's teachings. And I started knowing and hearing that I was talking lack. I was speaking lack about all the things that weren't going right. And then I was learning how to shift that upside down and talk about all the things that were going the right way. And that's how those new people started coming. And that's how new opportunities started coming to me. And I was asked to do Trade of the Woman, who was leaving corporate America to train in Reiki. And she was leading her first retreat in Reiki training down in Costa Rica on the top of this crystal quartz mountain. And I went down there. I knew I was supposed to go, but I didn't know I wanted to be a Reiki practitioner. But Spirit Universe wanted me down there to learn about me, to learn about my energy systems, to learn about chakras, to learn about that I was an empath, to learn about colors and frequencies and all the things. And that was like the beginning of me having really profound experiences of releasing trauma and releasing emotion from my chakra system. That happened in my heart chakra or my throat chakra. It just blew open and I had a past life come through and I was foaming at the mouth. And another sort of near-death experience moment where you're like, what was that? I need to learn more about that. And so it gives you the courage and the desire to continue to move forward, to learn more, to discover more. You're like, that's very interesting. What do you mean you had a past life death come through your throat chakra?
That's interesting because I recently did that as well. I had a guest on, Steve Burgess,
Wow.
past life regression person. And he, after we were done, he said, hey, why don't we do a session? And I said, he deals with trauma, identifying the trauma in a past life and then releasing it so it doesn't affect you in this life. So I said, well, I suppose
Yeah,
for me,
sure.
it's just claustrophobia is the problem with me,
Mm.
small spaces, like trying to get into an MRI machine or
Yeah,
something like
forget
that.
it.
Can't happen.
Hmm.
So we did it. And unbelievably, on the first session, an hour into it or whatever, he got me back into like 1865. And I found out that I was buried alive in a crazy little wooden coffin. And I relived it entirely. My body
Okay.
exploded, a million volts of electricity running through me. And he was clear to say, stay in it, let it wash through you. This
Mhm.
is the process. And it's like, I want out of here. And he kept me in for a long, long time, and I watched through the whole thing. And
Wow.
I mean, it was electrifying. I was hyperventilating and going nuts. And so it had an effect.
Yeah.
I literally, since then, I've experimented in small little spaces and they haven't bothered me.
Yep.
I haven't been in an MRI yet, but so that kind of an example, I
It
guess.
is. It's the same exact thing. And I love hearing that because not often do I meet people that have that level of a release of a past life. And that happens more and more and more and more and more in my story. And you had to go through the experience. Did you have the out of body, like realizing you were watching yourself go through it? I did later on in my story, where I was like a fly on the wall watching this go down, spit and snot coming out of me and screaming and like howls and screaming like you've never heard before. And I'm like, my God, I am being burned alive, like, or I'm being drowned, or I'm being strangled, or my body being pulled apart. And like, the emotions that come through, but they have to be released from your soul body. They have to be released.
Right, and what I noticed about it is that I couldn't fake that.
No.
It wasn't me going, "Okay, I'm gonna make
Right.
sure I'm gonna behave like." No, it
Yeah.
happened to me. Something happened to
Hmm.
me, and it was a massive jolt and a huge thing, and yes, I did, witness it,
Yep.
and but when you're in a dark coffin, of course, there's no light in there, but
Right.
regardless, beyond that, you can still sense and see the imagery of you in a coffin and so
Yeah.
forth. And I found that just before that, I was sort of sick and old in a bed and whatever. So apparently, someone just said, "I think he died.
I put him in a
Let's
box.
bury him." And I wasn't quite gone yet,
It's
kind of like Monty
terrible.
Python, not quite dead yet.
I'm so sorry for that version of yourself, but I'm happy for this version of yourself that you got to go through that and release it.
Well, and like you said too, it's like I haven't had a near death and I haven't had a
Hmm.
very, but I had this experience
Yeah.
and it was real.
It was a death
So
experience.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that I saw, thought that was amazing that you said is the notion, and this happens all the time. Somebody gave me this stat that of the NDEers and the spiritual folks like yourself, it's about 80% of them that are no longer with their spouse that they were at
Yeah.
the time. I mean, and like you said, it's probably the life journey where that was already premeditated that you would
Yeah.
be with this person during this time, you'll have this awakening, and then you'll need to move on
Correct.
to whatever. It's kind of like if you think about, I'm a caterpillar and I married another caterpillar.
Hmm.
Oops, tomorrow I wake up and I'm a butterfly,
And
or they're
different.
a butterfly, and the
Yes.
spouses can't, what? No, it's like it's time. The paths have to go in a
Yeah.
different direction. Premeditated. It's like it almost feels like you shouldn't have angst with it. You should realize this is my journey. Like, does the caterpillar know it's going to turn into a butterfly?
Right.
Not really, but when it
Right.
does, it doesn't argue with it. It
No.
flies.
I love that example. It's so beautiful because it just wants to fly and it has to fly. And that's what it's meant to do now, and the other one is still like, do, 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 it's like, and that's the best example. It's exactly right. It's amazing. I'm probably going to use that one. So thanks, Brad.
Well, it's all yours. And I have so many discussions. It's actually morphed over many conversations with other folks. I do this because I figure folks would listen and benefit from it. But I
Yeah.
got to tell you, I think I'm benefiting from these conversations more than anybody. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably okay.
I think it's
But
great. Yeah.
when you're talking about these the changes in that, you also mentioned like who's Jesus?
Yeah.
Like, so a lot of people are trying to figure that out because there's obviously a lot of education in the world in
Mhm.
religion and what that means, and then there's a lot of folks that sort of have NDE experiences that are very sort of a different story. And so, what did you find in that research?
Yeah. It's interesting. He's been coming up a lot lately. Since I was a little girl, he's a people love him because of what he taught. You know, like, I have so much compassion and love for him. When I was a little girl, as I was saying, I had a very deep relationship with him, but I was brought up Catholic, and he was very predominant in the teachings, and, you know, we prayed to him and all of that. And we reenacted him in plays and all of it, you know, but he was always there for me, always there for me. And he's always been. So even when I didn't believe in Catholicism any longer, I still believed in Jesus. And how would I know that? I don't know, you know. He comes to me often. He reveals his face to me often. And I say a he, but he's an energy, right? And he is just, that's how I visualize him, and that's how he renders himself to me. And when his frequency comes into me, it vibrates so high. Like, I truly love him. And so to me, I don't know if the word is an archetype. Is that the correct term? He's throughout religion, throughout our history, he is perceived as a certain male, Caucasian, or whomever, or however he's being rendered in whatever religion it is. But to me, he is just so loving, supportive friend. And he comes to me when I'm having really challenging times, and then I'll witness experiences that I'm having, and then I relate to him. I'll see it in imagery or in videos or whatever, where he has to put out courage to show who he truly is to the world, you know, as he was experiencing his commission on the earth's plane of what he came down here to do. The council, who I am a part of, they say, we as brethren have agreed that you were commissioned to come here at this time now to help support humanity through all these changes. And there's a lot of, you know, ridicule. There's a lot of all kinds of things that come with that, with this human experience. And sometimes I just have so much empathy, and I can understand how much courage he had. He gives me strength to, not that I'm saying I'm like him at all. I admire him and love him. And I see what he had to do and how he had to do it and how he did it, you know. And it's like, if someone like that can do that, I can put videos out on YouTube. You know, I can move through this feeling of being overwhelmed or fearful of saying this or doing this or being, you know what I mean? And so to me, I have like a very close relationship with him. I just don't believe that he had to die for me to have eternal life. I believe that that's my gift, that we all have that gift.
Right. You know, what's interesting there is you mentioned earlier, we have a choice of love or fear.
Yeah.
It feels like those that I've talked to that are connected to him in some way and have experienced him, whether it's an ND or in the way you do through even channeling, is pure love. It's always the case.
Always.
And yet what I'm finding on the other side is those that read about him in books, you know, right, are fear-based. There's a lot of fear there on that side. Mm-hmm. And then again, those that experience him are love. And so there's really this vast contrast there.
Yeah. And that's man-made stuff. You know, their belief systems and rituals and boxes. You know, the guides talk about how religion isn't bad, that if it enables someone to have a peaceful life, to feel and vibrate and resonate and have guidelines for how they want to live, that makes them have all the things that they need to resonate at a frequency that gives them a good life, then it's not bad. It works for them. It's what works for them, you know? But, you know, it's like that spiritual awakening journey. You only, like the butterfly and the caterpillar, you're fine until suddenly you have wings and you need to move on to something else. And then you understand that that doesn't serve you anymore. You understand more than that. And you're seeking something that aligns more. So that journey, which we're all continually on, I'm on it right now. We're all going to be on it until we're not here anymore, is that evolving and expansion process. And that comes understanding and alignment and discernment and, you know, all of your tools that you have within you and finding out how to use them and experience your life on this plane of existence in the best and most optimal way that you can, with what you have at the moment. in your understanding to use.
Right. And that's based on things that folks have told you, or things you've read, or things you've experienced.
Discovered.
And so
Yeah,
they come in many different forms. There was a
absolutely.
prior guest I had named Peter Panagore. I don't know if you know him, but I asked him that question. And I have a little short video online too, which is beautiful.
Mm.
And his answer about what is Jesus came here effectively to do miracles for folks, right?
Mm.
And to show them that how powerful we are. Not that you had to go to him for the miracle, but that you could manifest the
Mm.
miracle. And he said all people wanted were more miracles. So then he came down and he shared in writings and parables, but they really didn't understand that, and it wasn't communicable, he says. And finally, he said he wanted to share and show that that life wasn't what they thought it was. And so he ended his life and then came back, and to show him that this is just a temporary physical manifestation, and yet we're everything on the other side. And so Peter Panagore just nailed that description of it. I thought it was so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And so I like to remember that every once in a while. And I do have folks that come on and with comments and so forth, and I just share, love back with them,
Yeah.
and say we all have our vantage points and our experiences that we're sharing.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and one other thing you mentioned earlier was Brian Weiss. You said many lives,
Mm-hmm.
many masters.
Mm-hmm.
You started that and you saw that early. And so that's an example
Mm-hmm.
of another, I guess, hypnotherapist,
Mm-hmm.
Dolores Cannon, right?
Yep.
That had so many experiences pulling people into these past lives that it's like there is something going on here.
Yeah.
There's too much evidence. So I think that's kind of where you went. And then are you doing something similar right now?
Yeah. Well, I did more and more and more of what you said you did and what I did in that one Reiki experience. I went and I did plant medicine because I had, so skipping a huge part of the story is that I started understanding my clairs and they started working and I started knowing how to use them because I was doing more and more and more discovery. So I started hearing, seeing, knowing, sensing. And one of the things that I knew was that I was supposed to go and do this plant medicine, which I had never had, just like channeling ever on my things that I want to do when I grow up. And this beautiful gift came out of nowhere. I didn't have to figure it out. It came and it was a beautiful closed space filled with high frequency, small group of people in exactly the place that I told I was going to go. And that happened in 2019. And through that experience, I had a lot of healing, a lot of that kind of healing, realizations, releasing, and my vibration rose. And when I went back at the end of that 4-day journey, I had a white light shoot through my third eye, fill my whole body up with that love Jesus frequency, that love frequency. And it was like, and my teeth were like this. And I felt love in its highest and purest form. And I heard your psychic abilities have enhanced. Everything from this moment forward will be different. And that's what happened. I came home and I had to integrate all of this new understanding. And then COVID happened like a few months later. And I sat every morning and I just sat and I said, I want to discover, I want to learn more. We've already been on this journey to get to here. You're saying everything has changed, it's been enhanced. What is next? And I, with an open heart, show me, let's do this together. Not give me a rainbow or make the cardinal come into the window. It was like I am here, open, ready. And not that there's anything wrong with those things, but you know what I mean? It's like I was ready to work with them. And I started having experiences with energies. And the very first group of energies that came in were very similar to Jesus's energy. It was a very feminine, beautiful, high, effervescent, buoyant, loving feminine energy that came in. And they would talk to me. I could hear them and they would say things like about love and tell me that we're going to do this thing next, dear one. And then I would have one of those past life experiences where I had to live the actual death. I had to experience the death. I had to release the emotion and the fear or whatever it was about it. And then I had to release all the emotion around it, cry, release it, get it out. And then my vibration would rise. So I did that over and 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 over again. Like it was like a year. And then a huge chunk of months. And when I was done, I got to a place where my frequency was at a place where I could receive the Great Council of Light. I didn't know that's who they were then. I was able to get this transfer of energy to be able to happen. And that took a long time of working together and allowing the energy to flow, try to flow through me, try to calibrate, the physicality of it, all of it. And recently I recorded all of it. I took notes on all of it. And recently I was like, let me just listen to some of those recordings. And you can hear the council going, we, like they were trying to get the words to work with the energy to work with my vocal cords. And it's pretty funny. And so they were trying to say their catchphrase, which is, we are here, yes, indeed, we are happy to be here. And it's really funny. So, yeah. And I help now, which I never thought I would do either, is I help people do that. I help them not only navigate awakening their spiritual gifts, but I'm helping them heal their soul body so that they can raise their frequency, so that they can hear more, see more, experience more, have more connection, but also align with their soul's purpose, because that's what everyone wants to align with their soul purpose. They want to understand why they're here and what they're supposed to do.
And what is that process of helping others do what you've done? Is it through hypnosis or meditation?
Yeah, it's very cool. It's always evolving. I go into the same state that I went in when I started working. I bring the client in, and we set this container. We call in my guides, her guides, the Great Council, and anyone who wants to participate and who needs to, not even wants to, who needs to. And we're doing soul healing. So I will receive and download messages. I'll channel them automatic right. And then while I'm having these messages come through, most recently, for example, we're working on someone's womb, the energy of the womb, which is blowing my mind. Amazing. And ancestors came in. That was the first time that has ever happened. They came in, and the council said, "You are not welcome here. You're welcome to watch. You may not interfere with this soul." Yeah, with this soul repair. It's basically a soul repair. There was an interaction and experience that affected the person who gave birth to her. So that's what happens. Energy gets transferred through lineage, through DNA, through stories, through the mother's birthing, like all of it. And in the soul body. And we were able to heal that experience. But that's important for them to be a part of it, because they're releasing that experience also. Like, they're supporting it. And through that support, they're elevating their frequency. It's so cool. And I'm learning this as I go along. And then this person is experiences happen in this life, miscarriages and the emotion, shame from experiences. It's like ongoing. And there's women in my community who are working with this that have been in rape situations, that have had severe experiences that they impact your soul body. And so when you're able to heal them, just like your body in the box, you are able to release that, and the vibration raises, and it's incredible. So we're doing that together, and I feel so honored to be able to facilitate that and hold space for it, and hold hands as people are guided through that. Yeah. So I don't have a label for it except soul path coaching. I don't know what else to call it. So
A rose by any other name is
Right.
still the same function that you're providing. So that's wonderful. I'm sure it's on your website, and we'll look at that, a little later on. So that's great. And I know, so along the way, you mentioned that you channeled the Great Council of Light. And I know I'd also heard that you channeled Ra at some point in there as well. So can you talk about those experiences?
Yeah. So right after those ladies came in, I call them the ladies, these little buoyant, effervescent. One of the first beings that came through was Ra. And it was like, Ra! It was like, it was. Now, just picture this, set the stage. It's me sitting on my little couch in my living room by myself, doing these things myself. I don't have anyone helping me. And my eyes, it's like, wow, that was incredible, because I say he, but it's powerful energy. And then I started having experiences with Thoth. So I went through this whole Egyptian thing, which I believe that I was immersed in that environment. It was a part of that. I don't know how exactly, but they're connected to the Great Council. And Thoth will come in, and talk. And then there were songs that I'm a singer, retired singer, but there were songs that would come through when I wasn't even thinking, and I would go, what was that I was just singing? Like right after I had just channeled, or right after I had just had a session, and I would get my phone out and record them. And they come to me all the time. So it's like there's this Egyptian connection. I used to joke that I was a galactic hotel because I was so open in discovery of, in this phase of not understanding what I was doing, but working with them to experience it, where I was having all kinds of experiences with beings in different dimensions with different frequencies. And I had to go through all of that to understand the whole. You know what I mean? So to understand the low, to understand the high, and all the things in between. And, it was like a course in vibration and frequency.
Were you singing songs that were Egyptian songs from thousands of years ago?
I believe I was.
The
Yeah.
lyrics and the melody came through and it just
Yes.
came out.
Yeah. It's like I could sing them now. Like they're so beautiful.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of them is, ah. And then they go up into these high registers, and it's a chanting thing. And I'm like, what is that coming through me? Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's
I know.
amazing. And by the way, you have to be able to sing, like you can sing, so you could do that. And back in that day, they would also have select people that could hold a tone, and they would be the singers. But regardless, there was always been music. It's always frequency based. I mean, everything's frequency based.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever done that on anyone's podcast. So thank you.
You got another one you want to share?
Maybe. Let's see if it presents itself. Let's see.
Good. So now this all manifested, I think, then into spirit calling.
Yeah. So back on that couch when I was sitting there working with them, and I started hearing things, and they would talk to me, and they started telling me about world events. They started telling me about things that were coming in the future. And I started getting visions at night because my clairsenses were like on fire. Everything was just opening up, and I was seeing things and getting up in the night and drawing them. I'm an artist too, so I would draw them and paint them and, record what I was hearing, jot down what I was hearing. And they started talking all about future events. Like one of the first things was a tsunami, wave, 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 wave. They would say it over and over and over again. And I would dream of tsunamis. I have multiple dreams of a tsunami. I'm in the tsunami's coming. I don't get taken by the tsunami, but like over and over and over again.
We just had a tsunami, by the way. So there was an 8.7.
Exactly. And I just started sharing all of my visions in October of 2024, talking about what happened in 2020. But I hadn't received any tsunami messages until this past June 23rd, when I channeled a message for my community, and I said, we're going to have an earthquake of a magnitude 9 or greater that is going to make the tectonic plates, landmass shift, tectonic plates, and a wave of a grand level event, a tsunami wave happened. And so I put that out on June 23rd, and not knowing like all of this earthquake activity is happening all over the world. Like crazy stuff is happening now. And then that 8.8 just happened, but that's not the one they're talking about. I'm certain of it. There's a tsunami wave coming. Like it's not a warning. It's going to happen. It's just when.
So there's another bigger one happening. And tsunamis don't just happen on their own. They happen because of, like you mentioned, tectonic plate, earthquake, large magnitude. Who knows where it'll epicenter and where those waves will land on shore.
Yeah. And that was June 23rd. And then 2 weeks ago, I woke up and I heard subterranean landlock. And I'm like, what the heck? I'll remember that. And I hear, no, write it down. So I go and I'm like in the dark, trying to put my glasses on, trying to, subterranean landlock, and I write it down. And then I often have to get up. I have a business I'm running, I run 2 businesses, and I forget. I forget about these things. And then I remembered, and I went and I looked it up, and that is exactly a scenario. If a landlock like that, subterranean, isn't where the landlines are, where the fault lines are, it all connects to the June 23rd message. So that's the kind of experience that will happen to create that 9 or greater earthquake that creates the wave.
Mm-hmm. So that's still yet to come. And it would feel like if you were a geologist, you might know the possible locations where that could occur.
Right.
Have you zeroed in on that?
Yeah, they said it was going to be on the West Coast and it would affect Asia.
The west coast of the U.S.
Yeah.
And then the waves would go.
They would affect Asia. And then I believe there's also going to be something, it affects multiple places. I think it starts that way and it becomes more than just that is what I'm under the assumption of.
Do you live on a coast anywhere?
I live on the East Coast.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm on the West Coast.
Yeah, but I'm going to the West Coast in September. But you know, we have to know that we're held, and like we're going to be held. That's all that we have to know. That's all that we have to know. You're doing good work. I'm doing good work, and that's why we're here. And we trust in knowing that we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do.
Well, and then when the day comes that we're not here, we'll be there. And some
Right,
people say that's
exactly.
even much better. So where's the downside?
Right. I love your perspective.
Good. Well, you know what? I have another perspective, which is a little segment that I have here called Heart's First Whisper.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's where I have these questions for you. And you know what you do? You use your heart, and I know you can do that. You don't use your mind or your thoughts. You put those on the sideline, and you just let your heart pour out the answer. How's that feel?
Okay. That's cool. We'll see how it goes.
All right, good. Here we go. Well, number one, what was the moment you first knew without a doubt the spirit was real?
The first time was when I was a kid, and I used to call on Jesus all the time, and I needed him really, really badly once, and he just showed up, and it was incredible. And that's the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That story has never come out.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that is amazing. So
Yeah.
you had a bit of a knowing forever. Well, early days.
Yeah, I sort of did, but I didn't. But I did. I can't explain it. I used to have dreams, and I would go, "Oh, they're coming. They're coming." They weren't dreams, but they felt real. And this wind would come and scoop me up and take me on this ride with this group of beings or my friends, and we would go flying around in the sky. And that's when I was little also.
Nice. Well, I think when you're small, you don't know that that's not normal, and that
Right.
this must happen to everybody.
Yeah. Right.
And I guess you don't know the difference between a dream or an experience
Yeah.
that could be otherwise, and so you just have it, and
Yeah.
it's just like whatever. Well, that is nice that you brought that up, because that really makes your experience within your life even deeper. It goes all
Yeah.
the way back to then. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, number two is, when have you most clearly felt the presence of divine love?
Well, I've felt it many times. And one time when I was in bed, when I was right in that beginning of that story that I told you of the husband and all the things, I was in a half awake, half asleep mode, and I saw this little twinkle of a light, and somehow I was able to look at it and not lose it. You know how you look at it and you lose it? I looked at it, I didn't lose it, and that was the first time that the white light came through and filled my whole entire body. It was like, I felt it, and that was 100% divine love energy. The second time was after the ayahuasca. The same thing happened.
Oh, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah,
The ayahuasca
white light.
experience.
Yeah.
The question oftentimes is like, a natural organic experience or a plant-based catalyst ayahuasca experience. How did they differ for you?
I mean, it's hard to answer because ayahuasca was working before I even ingested the tea. Ayahuasca was conspiring to support all the things I wanted to do before I even got to Costa Rica. Like, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And you think about it, and that's the small version. If you think about it, it was supporting me the whole time, getting me with the people, getting me to the place, getting me to where I needed to be. And that's spirit, that's universe. But when you're with ayahuasca, it's unique. Everyone's journey is completely different. And I had so much fear to release that Grandmother Aya handled me with so much love. And she presented my first night a certain way that made me feel safe and loving and like I was a child. And then she increased every night in a different way. So it was different than divine love. At the end of the week is when the love frequency just went came through my body. But when Jesus comes, it's that sort of feeling. It's not as intense as that, but it's strong.
It kind of feels like those that aren't having the Jesus experience, they go like, I really want an NDE and an OBE and the Jesus thing. And if I can't, well, then I'm going to go down to Costa Rica and try to get the next best thing. I think you probably have mentioned before that if folks go down there and they're really in a negative, dark energy state, that can be pretty dangerous, because you'll manifest, like sort of frequency experiences, and that certainly is what you want to do.
No, and it's so intentional, and you have to be safe, and you can't just go down there for shits and giggles, and you got to really, 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 if you feel called, I say sit in intention and let it present itself to you, and don't make it happen. It'll present itself to you in the way that it's supposed to be, because it's sacred. It's not a quick fix. It's not a, like, I want to do this over on the weekend down at some guy's house in the middle of, in the middle of a city somewhere. Like, that can be good. Like, it depends on how it unfolds, but you really have to honor it. It's not for the weak. Like, it's really intentional and loving, and you have to be in the right place with the right frequency, with the right people.
Yeah, no, that is wonderful wisdom.
Yeah.
So direction for folks that are even considering that. I know I'd heard one story of someone who took it, and when they came back, they said, I see everything in numbers now, colors, frequencies, music, anything that's happening. I kind of see the numbers associated with now. Everything is just a frequency and a number. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And number 3, now, what did the Council of Light teach you that changed everything?
Oh my God, to let go of everything. It's so interesting. I mean, we think we've got it figured out. Like, Brad would put one foot in front of the other. We got our schedule going. We got our calendar. We got our payments for our, car on autopilot. Like, we've got everything figured out, right? But there is truly a force that is moving through our life. And if we are able to allow it to just be and trust in the knowing that it is held and guided, then everything happens. I mean, you can be down to your last, amount of money you have to pay all of your vendors, and you have to sit there and look at it and say, no, I know it's going to be okay. It's good. They've told me it's held, it's done. And then the next day, you get a whole year filled to fund your project or whatever. That's how it works because it's in the release, it's in the allowance. And so it's a continual, because we're 3-dimensional beings, and we have all of these ways around us continually that we have to live within, to learn to let go and just let it be, is what they've showed me.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, life is kind of a river. And if you try to paddle upstream, you're going to have a heck of a time. You're not going to be happy. If you paddle too far to the left and run into the rock on the shore, that's going to leave a mark. And so it's like, keep it in the middle of the river, let the flow. And, but then the question is how do I know where the edges of the river are? How do I know to stay in the flow? Any advice?
Yeah, just you got to continue to get into that compass, that inner guidance, and allow those tools to work. And the moment, like today, this morning, I had a hard morning. I started constricting, and I said, stop constricting. You need to be in allowance. You got to reset your calibration. Just set your frequency into a space that's not worrying, because within the worry is the constriction. You're constricting the flow. And then so the guides always talk about, you're putting a signal out. You're putting a signal out, a signal. So you are in control of that signal. So do I want a diminished signal? Do I want one that's weak? Or do I want one that's the right frequency, that's permeating and going out and saying, this is what I want. This is how I resonate. This is what I expect from my experience. So it's, it's the human experience. You're going to have those moments, but as long as you can kind of witness them and reset, you're okay. But allow them too. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think it's number 1, stop constricting the way you said. 2, fix your frequency. Number 3, go see Pamela. She'll help you. Hey, speaking of 3, and we go off to number 4, what's the most beautiful message you've ever channeled, either for someone else or yourself?
Oh my gosh. Most recently, I channel beautiful messages all the time. So number 1, I'll say that. But most recently, I'm going to take it for myself, because they gave me such kudos recently, saying thank you for the work that you're doing, and we honor you, and we, your brethren, all together. Like they try to give me like loving support, and they really gave me a beautiful message recently that really just was like, I cried, because it was like, thank you for seeing me. Because when I work with people in my programs, they give them beautiful messages, and they honor them, and they bow their head to them, because they know how important the work is that they're doing. And so for me to receive that, for me, it was lovely. I really, really loved it. It was beautiful.
So you're saying the beauty in that was their appreciation and gratitude to you
Yeah. Yeah. It
for
was
doing
nice.
what you're doing, being the channel, delivering the
Yeah.
messages to so many.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. And by the way, I agree. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
I'm grateful also. But it's kind of funny when you think about it. It's like, do you have a choice? Is
Right.
there any possible way that you would do anything else?
And no, not at this point. No, it can't. I know.
Because you're smack right in the middle of the river, heading right
Yeah.
downstream, aren't you? We got number 5 here. What part of your own humanity did you have to embrace on this path?
Here's the thing. You can say, I'm an empath, right? And people can say, well, stop saying that because you're making yourself sound weak, or you're using as a excuse or this or that. But I am an artist, a musician, a creative. I'm a super feeler. I'm super sensitive to energy. And I had to really thicken up my skin for this journey. And I had to accept that, embrace it, like you're saying, and learn how to love it. Most recently in January, I had a big, huge experience. The council guided me to go on this big podcast that was not spiritual, but I knew that it fit the mission and the vision of what they have always told me I'm supposed to do. And I knew there was a reason I had to go there. And, it triggers those bodies in the box. It triggers those past life experiences that I had where I was persecuted and tortured and killed and all the things for doing this and saying this and doing this work, So it triggers. But I knew I did it and I did it. And every time I'm asked to do it, I do it. And so I embrace the fear, but the thick skin and the actually turning the thick skin into like, I don't even care anymore. Completely changing who I am in a matter of a weekend. Yeah, I had to embrace that. It was hard. I had to love the haters and know who they are, that I'm igniting and triggering their fear with my light. And I had to go through all that.
Wow. I
Yeah.
like how you said that. You went through this where you're triggering, and then you had to go to a point where you don't care,
Yeah.
right? Because I think
Mhm.
the next step is you go to a point where you don't judge them. Because
Yeah.
now if you can live in unconditional
Yeah.
love, by definition, you're not judging someone. So
Right.
someone could attack you with everything they've got, and because they've got fear inside them, and you
Yeah.
can see it. And the last thing you would do is judge them,
Right. To
because you can see
understand.
they're in fear, and that's where they're at in their process. And so I have unconditional love for you. Now, I won't go on your podcast ever again, but I definitely have
Did
unconditional.
that. Been there.
Yeah, exactly. But that doesn't mean you can't have unconditional love and not judge them. I
Right.
get into this all the time. It's like, do you need to forgive someone? Well, I actually don't, because I never judged them in the first
Right.
place. So
Yeah.
you only need to forgive if you judge. And
Right.
so, boy, you can skip both of those steps with unconditional love. And
That's
I
good.
always say you can do that for maybe 99 out of 100 people in your life, but you might have that one super trigger you're still working on. Number 6, what does home feel like to your soul?
Ease, flow, velvety, like, I mean, that sounds so stupid. It feels home. Haha. But it truly does. Like yesterday I met with someone and there was just this frequency going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And he said, do you feel that? And I said, I do. And he goes, that's because you're meeting me in my frequency. And he was a super high frequency person. And like, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm already vibing high, and I'm told by so many people, and I can only have certain energy workers work with me because of my vibration. But like, it feels good. It feels good when you're at home with your soul. Like, you feel the vibration, that resonance.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And you're feeling, love, right? It's
Yeah.
almost like when you channel Jesus and that pours over you. Boy, to find someone in the physical manifestation that gets you as close to that as possible is crazy and everything.
Cool.
I suppose you're going to have regular meetings with that
Yeah, we're
person.
already setting it up.
Exactly, of course. So thank you for that. I love that. Number
You're
7 is, what
welcome.
does Earth need most from us right now?
Yeah. So what the council would like everyone to work on, because the Earth's frequency is rising, as you said. And with that, old dynamics are breaking down so that new ones can present themselves and our light of our, new world can come. But the guides want everyone to work on their vibration so that they can have more ease in their life, more understanding for others. And with that, it's cascading, right? So if your frequency is higher than it currently was and it continues to raise, then you're doing all the things we just talked about. You're not judging. You're shifting not just your dial, you're helping to shift the dial of the planet. And so that's really what the goal is with the messages and the teachings that they have. And that's what Earth needs right now. That's what the guides continue to tell us, is that the number one thing. So starting small, and you apply it to like your whole life in different buckets.
And it's like I hear the Earth is leading the way. It's just really kind of had enough of this, and it's going to raise its frequency. And guess what? If you don't match that frequency, you
Yeah.
won't enjoy your experience here,
Yeah.
and you probably won't be able to have one here. So who
Right.
knows what this transition is all about?
Yeah.
Certainly everyone is talking about it right now, and it
Mhm.
feels like it's here. Why are there, in theory, 8 billion people, experiencing it now? All the souls that ever were are back here to enjoy this transition, and we're all front row seats with our bowl of popcorn, just ready to see what happens next. All right, number 8. What's your favorite way to reconnect when you feel disconnected?
Music. Music always does it for me. Yeah, always. Because I'm a musician. We have curated sound healings that I make every month for our community. So I pick and choose what I need frequency support with. But it could be just, my new favorite song is E.N. Young. It's called Higher Self. So do yourself a favor, Brad, and check it out. It's awesome. I put that on in the morning and it just gets me in a vibe, or I put on a certain song, gets me connected to myself, really, music.
I know you sing because we've got a demonstration of that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We might get one more before the podcast is over. And you play instruments also?
Yeah, I play piano, which is what I started my musical life with. And then when I was 40, I bought a guitar and started playing that. So I go through cycles where I have a lot of time for music or no time. And so I'm getting to know my new guitar. So hopefully I'll be spending lots of time with it. But being in the space, and I paint, so being in the space of creating music, or you're releasing and you're also connecting to the divine. Same with art, same with writing. If people, whatever their passion is, that gets them in that space, that helps me reconnect.
Yeah, I love that you're having your midlife guitar sort of thing going on. That's pretty cool because you have all that music history and
Yes.
and skills, so it should apply. It's just you got to get those crazy fingers working for
I
you.
get the calluses, man. I'll play for 10 minutes and I'll be like, ah!
You'd think they'd create a musical instrument that was as lovely sounding, but was a little less painful. I don't know. You got to work on that. Well, hey, that brings us to number 9. And number 9 is when your time here is complete. And I'm sure it's many, many moons from now. How do you want your light to be remembered? What's your impact in this space?
I know that if I am able to complete what it is that I've come here to do, that there will be tremendous impact. And since I started hearing and speaking to the council, it's always been about humanity. You're going to create a portal for humankind. Humankind? What? Me? Huh? A portal? What's that? A glass ceiling that breaks and people need a place to land? What is that? So in the beginning, I would cower, but watching them pick me up and put me and pick me up and put me into the next. And I'm going to say that gets to be done. And I'm going to be able to be proud of how I showed up and proud of how I served and able to make an incredible impact to help through humanity through these changes. And then I want to never come back again. I want to be done. After this.
There's so many spiritual folk that are saying the exact same thing. Like, I am all in and I'll help everybody, but I am checking out. And I don't think I need to come back. They go, I think I earned my wings or whatever it might be.
Yeah, then you're coming back, man. If you keep saying that, you better stop saying it. Just
Exactly. Well, thank you for everything. As we close this out, I think, I want to give you the opportunity for, sort of a last message to this gang of beautiful viewers that are hanging out with us today.
That's so awesome. Hello, gang. I'm so glad that you were here with us today. And we did have a good time. I just want to tell you that if you, are scratching and seeking and experiencing and feeling alone, that you don't have to be alone, that there's a community of like-minded people who want to hear what you have to say probably had the same experience and have lots of love and support to give you, with arms open wide. And you can explore your spirituality there. And that's my community, spirit-calling.com. But if there's anything that resonated with you, just come and check it out. Look under the hood, a full immersive experience for 7 days. And then for people who are looking for something deeper, I hold a container with the Great Council of Light once a month. It's a mastermind. And we actually channel live, ask questions, have lessons from them, and profound experiences, energy ignitions and healings. It's so cool. And then I channeled a whole bunch of meditations. They're not mine. They're the Great Council's, and they're amazing. They're mic drop amazing. They're incredible. There's a pineal gland meditation that makes people feel like it's an activation meditation, so they can feel it pulsing and they can feel things happening, and then they're having more connection, more dreams, more understandings, more knowings. And just come and check it out. There's lots to discover on your path. Everyone's on a different place on their path, and there's space for all of us.
Beautiful. Well, hey, thank you for that.
You're
and
welcome.
I'm sure people will, because they'll go down in the description and they'll see all the links to everything. And they'll go there just as I have, and sign up for your newsletters and emails so they can have a constant reminder of that too.
Yeah. And YouTube, it's Spirit Calling Pamela, and TikTok and Insta, they're all the same.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. And you know what? Not just for sharing your gifts, but for reminding us that we're never alone, that the call so many of us are feeling is real, and that there is a council of light guiding the way. Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's waking up to something deeper, more sacred and more true, Spirit Calling, is that portal and that community we've been talking about. Go there. It's a living invitation.
Yeah.
So thanks, Pamela. I had such a great time today. I think people are really going to enjoy your message.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And you know what, to our listeners, if Pamela's story moved you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And let us know in the comments. I love the comments. I get in there and tinker around all the time. And if this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone who might need a little light today. And until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and go way beyond the illusion to discover your true self. Take care, everyone, and bye for now.